Hey everybody, welcome to Frannie's Square. Happy Easter to everybody who celebrates. Today we're going to be making this super easy multi-purpose pouch. So when I was deciding on what project I wanted to design next, I thought I want something easy that I can do in front of the TV, a mindless whip that I don't have to think about, I don't have to count, and something small that I could make quickly and maybe make several of and use as gifts. It's always good to have extra gifts around. And I knew I needed a case for my eyeglasses. I lost my case for my eyeglasses. So I decided to make this little pouch that would fit my eyeglasses or sunglasses. Then I realized you could use this for so many things. You could put your crochet hooks if you're traveling, some makeup, your iPhone. You could even use this to wrap gifts for people, and then they get a little additional gift that they can use. So I found this yarn in my stash, which is very springy, summery, and it's a chain spun yarn, so it's a sturdier yarn, which I like for my bags. I like my bags to have a little bit of structure and not be too flimsy. And I decided to use the star stitch. And if you watched the tutorial on the twinkle star blanket, the star stitch was used in that as well. And if you haven't seen that tutorial, I'll put that right here. So the star stitch is a 2-row repeat. It's very simple. If you haven't done it before, you'll learn it with me and you'll be able to make as many of these as you like very quickly, very easily. Now, as you probably know, the design process does not always go so smoothly. So you'll see during this video that I changed up the way I sewed the seams on the side, because originally I used a whip stitch and I didn't like the way it looked. It looked too messy to me. So I changed that up. And you'll get to see that. And I want you to see that because when you're designing things, don't worry if they don't come out right the first time. Switch it up, figure out a better way, and you learn so much from doing that. Now, as with most of my tutorials, you can use any yarn and any hook you like. So check out your stash, see if there's something there. I will link this yarn in the description below. It's from Ice Yarns and it's still available, although this color right now is out of stock. But there's many other colors if you're interested in this yarn. If not, use whatever you have. All right, so grab your yarn, grab your hook, and let's get started. Okay, so you can use any yarn for this project, but what I'm using is from Ice Yarns. It's called Macrame Cotton Magic. I will put a link to this yarn below. This color, which is called... does it have a name? I think the name goes by the actual colors in the yarn, but I don't see a name here. In any case, this color right now is sold out, but it says it is coming back in stock. But there are other colors of this yarn. And I like it because it's a sturdier yarn. If you look here, you can see it's, let me see if I can find another piece that's lighter for you to look at. It's the chain kind of yarn, so it's nice and sturdy. This is a 4-weight yarn. It says to use a 4 to 5 millimeter hook, which I am going to use a 5 millimeter an H, and it's 100% cotton. So I thought this would be really nice for the spring. Okay, so I'm going to make an odd number of chains to start. I'm in the middle of this skein of yarn. Let me just show you. I like these colors better than the navy on the outside for the upcoming season. I just thought this is so pretty. Okay, so I'm going to do an odd number of chains. I'm going to do 21 chains. I think that's going to be about the right number of chains for the size pouch I want. You can do any odd number you like, use any size hook. I'm using a 6, a J, okay, so 21 chains. Okay, there we go, 21 chains. All right, so this is a 2-row repeat. The first row is going to be the bottom of our stars, and the second row will be the tops of our stars, and we're just going to repeat it. This will be a mindless whip. You can sit in front of the TV and make as many of these as you like. All right, so what we're going to do for the bottom of the star is we're going to insert our hook into the second chain from the hook. So that's right here, and we're going to pull up a loop, and we're going to do that in the next chain. And we're going to keep doing that in each chain until we have 6 loops on the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one more. 6 loops on the hook. Now I'm just going to yarn over and pull through all 6 of those. And then I'm going to yarn over and chain into that. And now I have the bottom of a star with the eye of the star. Now, we're going to stick our hook into the eye of the star, pull up a loop. Then we're going to go between the 2 spokes of the bottom of the star right here. Okay, or if you'd like to think of it as before the last one. Stick our hook in, pull up a loop. Then we're going to go into this space here that's before the next chain we haven't entered yet. And we're going to pull up a loop. So we'll have 4 loops on our hook, and then we're going to go into the next 2 chains and pull up a loop so that we have 6. Okay, just like that. And again, yarn over and pull through all 6. And then yarn over and chain, and that creates the bottom of the next star. And we're going to keep doing this all the way down, and you should have 1 stitch left when you're done. So we're going to go into the eye, pull up a loop. Before the last spoke of the star, pull up a loop. Into this space here before the next chain, I have 4, and then into the next 2 chains. 6 on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 6. I love the look of this. Plus, it creates a very sturdy fabric, which is really nice when you're doing a bag or a pouch of any sort. I don't like doing it where my pouch is flimsy. I feel like I might as well not have a pouch. Just throw it in my bag at that point. I really like a little bit of structure. And, you know, that may differ for you, so do what you like. Make it your own, as I always say. Okay, there's 6. Yarn over, pull through all 6. Sometimes it's a little tight on this first row, but it gets easier. If you hear that, that's my stomach. I don't know why, I just ate, so maybe it's just digesting. Okay. So this row is the bottom of all the stars, and the next row will be the tops of all the stars, and then you just repeat these rows over and over again. You can see I'm not even thinking about what I'm doing because I just know. I'm trying to get 6 loops on the hook. Okay. All right, this is our last star, and it'll leave us with 1 chain on the hook. Okay, pull through so you see we have our stars here like this, and I have 1 chain left, and I'm going to do a half double crochet into that chain. So I yarn over, pull through a loop, and then pull through all 3. There's my half double crochet. Okay, so now for row 2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 2 and turn my work. Now in the first stitch right here, I'm going to do a half double crochet right there. Then in the eye of the star, you can see the eyes as you go along. I'm going to do 2 half double crochets in that eye, and that's going to make the top spokes of the stars. 1 in this eye, we do 2 half double crochets. Okay, so now you can see you have the bottom and the top. Then I'm just going to go over to the next eye right here and do 2 half double crochets. And just keep going along to each eye and do that. 2. And the next one. The colors in this yarn are so pretty. I know this yarn, when I checked it the other day, was out of stock in this color. They have other colors, but hopefully this one will come back in stock. And I've linked it in the description so that you can go check it out at Ice Yarns. And of course, you know, you can find other yarns you like with pretty colors. You don't have to get this one. Okay, and then in our very last stitch here, we're going to do a half double crochet. And we're going to chain 3. So it was chain 2 at the end of row 1. We're chaining 3 at the end of row 2. And the reason we do that is we start the bottom of our next star by going into this second chain from the hook, pull up a loop, then the next one, pull up a loop. There we go. And now we're going to go into this stitch, pull up a loop. We have 4, 5, 6. Now we have 6 on our hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through all 6, do our chain. There we go. We started another bottom of a star. Look how pretty this is looking. So we go into the eye, pull up a loop. Before the last spoke, pull up a loop. Into this space, pull up a loop. Then we have 4 and we go into the next 2 stitches, pulling up a loop in each of those. I have 6. Yarn over and pull through all 6, and we continue this down until we get to the end. So just keep doing this and I will meet you at the end, and we'll go from there. Okay, coming toward the end here. So last star. And then we have 1 stitch left here. We're going to do a half double crochet in that stitch. There we go. We're going to chain 2 and turn our work. Now we're going to put the tops of the stars on. So in this first stitch here, we're going to do a half double crochet. And then we're going to do 2 half double crochets in every eye of each star. There we go. And you can see, you can sit down and watch TV and have no problem following this pattern. No need to count or do anything complicated. last stitch. I'm going to do a half double crochet, and we will chain 3 and turn our work and get ready to start our next row of stars. So there you have it. That's what the star pattern looks like. Isn't that beautiful? So what I'm going to do is make a long rectangle, which I'll then fold into thirds. So it'll have like it'll look kind of like a little envelope, and I'm going to make a button for it. So I'm going to make this long enough so that when I fold it, my glasses will fit inside. All right, so just keep doing this pattern for as long as you want, based on whatever you're going to use your bag for. And I'll meet you back here to sew it together and to make the handmade button. Okay, so here's the front side of the rectangle. You can see the stars, and the back side. Now, I sewed this all together, made the whole bag, and then I didn't like how the seams looked on the sides, so I decided to take them out and do it a different way. This is part of the design process. So you'll see I already have the button on and the clasp. We'll be doing that after this, but I just wanted to show you how this is going to work. So just so you see how this goes together, what I'm going to do is fold this up to about here, because that fits my glasses, and then this will fold down and hook onto the button like that. So what I need to do is fold it and sew it along the sides here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it right sides together like this, decide where I want to fold it to, and then I'm going to put my stitch markers here and probably about halfway down so that it holds it in place, making sure that my seams line up, this line here with the edge here. I'll do that on this side as well. Okay, and I'm going to pick this seam here, making sure 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, that they line up. And originally I used a whip stitch and I was sewing this, and it just looked too messy to me. I just really did not like it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to crochet using a slip stitch and try to keep it as neat as possible. So let me start on this side. Let me get this stitch marker in. Okay, there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right up here where this stitch marker is. I'm just going to put my hook in and grab my yarn. I like to pull it through with both the tail and the working yarn. Let me just make the tail a little shorter so don't, there we go. I just feel it's a little stronger that way. Okay, and then I'll drop the tail and I'll work right over it. So what I'm going to try to do is keep my stitch as close to the edge as possible. So I'm going to go in right here, and on the other side, let me just make sure I'm matching up right there. And I'm going to pull my yarn through and then pull it through here. Okay, and I'm going to work my way down, just trying to keep it along the edge so it looks neat. If I go too far down into these holes here, I notice the stitching looks really messy. So I'm going to just try to keep it as close to the edge as possible. Let me see how this looks. There we go, like that. And I'm going to work my way all the way down. Just slip stitching all the way down. There we go. Like that. So do that down both sides, and I'll meet you at the end. When I get to the bottom, I have this seam, because I have a row along the bottom that's being folded, and I have this seam. So I want to make sure that that seam lines up on both sides. And again, I'm just trying to catch one piece of the yarn here, like that. And on the other side where the seam is. And get in there. It's not so easy. There we go. Just like that. And pull it and slip stitch. So that's even all the way down like that. Now I'll do the other side. Down the other side now. I like to start at the top for both sides, so I just turn it the other direction. And I'm going to pull it through with both the tail and the working yarn. There we go. And drop the tail. All right, I'm just going to catch these top pieces of yarn here and make my slip stitch just like that. I left that tail out so you could see what I'm doing. Catch. Normally I would just go right over it, but I will sew it in. Just catching these top pieces of yarn on each side and making a slip stitch. Just like that, all the way down, making sure you're matching up on both sides. Here I'm at the rib, here I'm at the rib. I want to make sure that I'm staying the same on both sides. So just do that all the way down and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so now I've slip stitched up both sides. What you're seeing here is the button that's already sewn on. And now I'm going to flip it right side out. Much better, much better. The whip stitch looked much messier than this, so I'm happy with the way this is looking. Very nice. Okay, so the next step is we're going to sew this, we're going to make this button and sew this button on, and we will also make this clasp. Okay, so here is my bag, and I've turned it right side out now, and I just checked to make sure my glasses fit, which they do, and this is going to come down like this. How cute is that going to be? All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to make my button. So to make my button, I start out by just wrapping the yarn around my fingers a bunch of times. I don't know, what was that, 8 maybe? I'm not sure. And I'm going to bring the yarn inside with my hook like this, still holding the circle, and chain to that piece of yarn, to my working yarn. That way it holds my circle together. Now I'm just going to go inside the circle and do a bunch of single crochets, just like this, going around the circle. I love these colors. So springy, or even summery, really. I just keep going. I want this circle to close in. So you see I'm going right over top of where I went before, and that's fine. I don't know what I do. Oh, I'm thinking, boy, my finger really hurts, this middle finger here. What did I do to it? I forgot. I was trying to teach myself how to shuffle dance, and I kicked my own hand. Talk about uncoordinated, and boy, did that hurt. Okay, so now I want to start to close this up. Let me see how that looks. Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll slip stitch the stitches together at this point, just going around, slip stitching. I love making buttons, and they can be so sturdy. This is definitely a sturdy button. Now I think what I'm going to do is just close this up. So I'm going to pull my yarn through and leave a long tail because I want to sew up my button and I want to sew the button onto the purse. So I need yarn for both of those things. So I'm just going to snip that. Okay, here we go. Now I'm just going to take my yarn needle like this, and I'm going to attach across the button like that to pull it closed. Yeah, I like the look of that. How cute is that button? And I'll just kind of sew it. Come back across here. Oh, mind the camera. Like this. That's the one hard thing about this thread. You can't catch one of the chains in the thread. You got to make sure you're clear through. I keep catching one. There we go. There we go. Now it's nice and closed. Look how cute that button is. All right, now, if we're going to have this here, what I'm going to need to do is put something here to attach the button into. So I think what I'll do first is I'll attach the button right here on the center of this row. I'm just doing it by eye, but if this is how it closes, I'm going to want the chain to go around that. So I'm going to attach it right here. I think that's about the center. So I'm going to pull this through like that and sew it inside here. Hope you can see what I'm doing. Let me pull this tight. There we go. And I'm just going to sew through the back of the button and into the purse, making sure that it's on tightly, like that. Now just go through a few times and, and tie a knot. Okay, so now that my button is attached there in the center, the next thing I want to do is I want to make a little loop here to attach to my button. So I'm going to start, let's see. If I start somewhere around 6 stitches in, go six stitches in on each side. I think that'll be good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach my yarn, and you can decide based on the size of your button. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Okay, so I'm going to attach my yarn, and I'm going to just crochet a chain. And I want the chain to be long enough go around the button, but not too long so that it's not holding the button in. A little bit longer. Let's see how we're doing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to here. I think that's pretty good. So what I'm going to do is go into the 6th here and slip stitch. There we go. And now let's just check it out. If I go to close this, I think it's a little too long. I'm going to take a chain or 2 out. 1, 2. Let's try that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Slip stitch. You can see I'm just doing this by trial and error. That's the way to do it. Yeah, I think that's a good fit. So that's where I'm going to do it. Now you can just fasten off here if you want, or if you want a little to strengthen your chain a little, what you can do is slip stitch all the way up your chain. Okay, so you can slip stitch all the way up the chain, just going into the next chain and slip stitch. Just adds a little strength to the chain. You could do a single crochet, but I feel like it makes it look too bulky. And I don't really want it to look bulky. And we're back to where we started. And just slip stitch in there. There we go. So that just adds a little thickness to it. And now, before I fasten off, I like to always check that it fits. And there we go. That's nice. So I'm going to fasten that off. And I actually like the way the slip stitch looks against that color. It was nice that it changed color there. You never know. Sometimes it just works out nicely. All right, so I'm going to pull this through. Make sure this is tight. And fasten off. And I'll just weave in these ends. And that'll be that. Okay, and here is the eyeglass case. I can open it up like this, put my glasses inside, and close that up. How cute is that? All right, I hope you found that tutorial helpful, and I hope you like this project. If you have any questions at all, please put them in the comments below or send an email to my email address at franniesquare@gmail.com. I will get back to you as quickly as I can. And if you do make these pouches, make sure you send pictures to my email address for the Crochet and Tell episode 39 that's coming up. All right, as always, thank you so much for joining me. I truly appreciate it. Remember to make it your own, and I'll see you soon.